Welcome to another video from Gweilo 60. I picked this spot just for you financial guys. If you get bored with what I say today, you can just get all of your financial information from the Bank of China in Chinese right behind me. We're going to be talking today about the things that are illegal in the West but aren't illegal in China. And you know, there's a number of things, and most of them have to do with children. For instance, let's start out. Teenagers, here, you're 12 years old, 13 years old, and you got bucks in your pocket. You can go buy a pack of smokes, yes, and smoke your face off. Or you can buy a case of beer and drink your face off. So drinking and smoking as a teenager in China isn't illegal. Why? So what is it? 18 in Canada, and I think it's 20 in the United States before you can drink, and I think it's 16 or so for cigarettes. Yeah, and you know, the difference is that it's held back from the younger generation, so they think that it's all that and more. So maybe they when they get the chance to, then they drink and smoke more. I go out to all you can eat and all you can drink suppers here in China, and around the university crowd, and they might have a beer between the four of them type thing, or two beer between the four of them. So it's not like it is in the West, and it probably got to do that with it's just not a special thing to them. E-bikes are not considered motor vehicles here in China. You have to have a motor, you have to have a combustible engine, yes, for it to be considered a vehicle here. So no helmets. Oh, not only no helmets, but you can have dad driving, you can have mom in the back, and you can have an infant in the middle. No helmets, no, you know what I mean? Or a little kid on the back of an e-bike holding on to mom for dear life type thing. I've seen it. Or you got these little infants strapped to mom's back and she's riding down the street at 30, 40 kilometers an hour on an e-bike. Not illegal. Not even close to being illegal. So things like that. Just think, if you're driving down the street with a little kid tied to your back, and they sort of tie him to your back here in China, tied to your back in Nanaimo, British Columbia, not only would you be arrested and ticketed, you'd have social service and family services up your ass. They'd be doing a house inspection on you for the next 2 years, and you know what I mean? Like, oh yes, politically incorrect to strap a child to your back and drive down the street on an e-bike in the West. Here, yeah, it's no big deal. Everybody does it. Everybody drives slow enough that, you know, I'm sure there's accidents, but I've never seen one. I'll get all of the kids stuff out of the way before I get into the adult stuff. It's okay to publicly beat your child in China. Yes, it is. Corporal punishment is alive and well in China. And I think that's probably why the Chinese kids are so respectful of their parents, is because there's that thought in the back of their mind that if I screw up, if I do something bad, I'm going to take a licking, and I'm going to take a good licking, because you can beat your kids in public here. Seriously, I've seen it lots of times. They smack them around, just so long as there's no lasting injuries. See, when I was growing up, I knew that if I screwed up, Dad would kick the living bejesus out of me. My mother used to she's a big woman, and she could kick the shit out of me too. Well, I'm just a little kid. But so you behave because you know that there's that belt, or there's that big hand of Dad coming down on your backside, and so it puts a fear of the Lord in you by Jesus. It sure does. See, with my daughters, if they backtalk me, they knew to be at least 3 steps away. Sounds like a Leonard Skinner song, you know, give me 3 steps, you know, because they knew half the time I was too lazy to get up, and 3 steps was far enough away that I couldn't swat them. Yeah, because they're 3 steps away. Or it gives them 3 steps of head start, and they're younger than me. So if I did get out of my chair, they had 3 steps towards the door before I even got out of my chair. Exactly. you get these old boys walking down the street with a big frickin' sword in their hand. Yes, and they're going to the park to do sort of like a martial arts sword fighting thing. Yes. Could you see walking down the street in, say, Chicago with a 4-foot sword in your hand? What do you think the cops are going to do to you? Like, seriously, are they going to taser your ass if you don't drop the sword immediately? You know, you kids walk around with replica AK-47s and stuff here in China, like they're toys. But could you see the reaction of people and the police in the United States, anywhere in the United States, because of all of these mass shootings? A kid, say a 14-year-old kid walking down the street with what looks like an AK-47. Here they don't even give it a second thought. Why? Because there's no guns in China. And it's part of their culture. Sword fighting and martial arts is part of the culture here in China, so it's not frowned upon. You see it I see it just about every day because I live right beside Guangzhou University, and a lot of these older guys, they go to the university grounds because it's nice and open, and they do that sword fighting thing, and some of them look pretty freaking scary, I tell you. But yeah, it's not illegal to walk down the street with a sword in your hand, where in the States I think that they've got, well, they have rules and regulations against it, because the cops will detain you and ask you questions, and if you're smug about it, they will taser you, put handcuffs on you, and haul you away. In Canada and the United States, it's illegal to eat dogs and cats. Yes, back to this dogs and cats thing. Well, actually, you know what? In 44 states in the United States, it's legal to eat dog. You just can't sell it at a market or sell it in a restaurant. But in 44 states, and then check it out, Google that puppy. In 44 states in the United States, you can take your Fido and you can slaughter them and you can eat them. Oh yes, you can. You just can't sell them to your neighbor. So, but here it's common in the marketplace now, way more common than it used to be a couple of years ago, or even 6 months ago. I don't know why that is. It's weird. But and I was walking through a wet market here 3 days ago in the Chaoyang district of Nanaimo, and they actually had cats in cages, feral cats. Like kitty, and got close, and I was, you know, I would have bit my finger off if I would have stuck it in there. But still, they fatten up these feral cats and they sell them for food in the marketplace here in Nanning City. Yeah, and they've got turtles and they've got snakes and they've got everything. But dogs and cats are on the menu here in China. And Canada, I think you would be in trouble if you were trying to sell a dog to your neighbor, for, you know, a barbecued dog to your neighbor. In the States, you'd get arrested for selling a barbecued dog to your neighbor. Yes, you would. Here, no, it's legal in China. Spitting and urinating on the street. Like, spitting on the street here is pretty common. It's not as common as it used to be, though. 12, 14 years ago, 16 years ago, it was like everywhere. Now it's basically the older crowd will do it, or the people from the farm that come into the city. On the farm you see it a lot, but in your, I don't know, from 10 to 50-year-olds, no, you won't see them spitting on the street, because they've been taught differently than the older crowd. But the older crowd, they still. So it's working its way out of the system. But here, if you get caught spitting in Canada, the United States, on the street in the city, they'll give you a ticket. They sure will. It's against the law. Oh, and urinating. You get all of these old boys, they're playing Chinese checkers in the park and this, and then they run over to the wall or the tree and hang it out and give a big... Yeah, they don't get arrested for that. I'm not sure whether it's illegal or not. Maybe some of the Chinese people can tell me. But it doesn't seem to be. The police don't see it. They look the other way. That's the old boys. What's he gonna do? Have to go find a bathroom? No, there's a tree right there. But see, if you get caught doing that in the United States or Canada, that's indecent exposure. That's a criminal charge, and you could actually go to jail for something like that. So spitting and urinating is okay in China, in public, but in the United States and Canada, It's a no-no. It's against the law. It's illegal. This one is my personal favorite. Drinking in a place other than a dwelling. Yes, I've gotten many of those tickets in Canada. You can't walk around in public in Canada with a beer in your hand. I'm not sure about the States. I think they're a little bit more relaxed because they sell beer in the stores and stuff down there. But in Canada, you have to be in your place of residence to drink alcohol. Or a bar or restaurant, you know what I mean. But walking around or out in public drinking beer or brandy, is that brandy? Yes, I take a lot of garbage from a lot of these slime balls that even the YouTubers in China here. Yeah, you're a drunk, Gweilo. Well, I drink. I've never been to a meeting, so I can't be an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like, where do they get off? I don't know. They're probably teetotaling little farts, and it's just well, some of them are big farts too, but whatever. But you see, the thing is that in China, you can drive your e-bike around with a beer in your hand. You can walk down the street drinking brandy or a beer. You can have a bottle of whiskey or baijiu in your hand and be 3/4 cut, and nobody gives a rat's ass one way or the other. In Canada, no, it's illegal in Canada. You can't do that, boy. You know, here's your ticket. And it's a couple $100 now. It used to, I think the first one I got was like $54. No, that was driving. Oh, that was open liquor in a vehicle. Yeah, you can have open liquor in a vehicle here, just as long as you're not driving. Oh yeah, so see, they're more relaxed. They don't hold your ass to the fire here as much as they do in the Western world. I think most of these rules and regulations in the Western world is, oh, you got to be so safe, and if you're not, we're gonna take money away from you because we've got to pay for these police giving you tickets somehow. You know, it's just the way it is. I think it's a money grab, like the carbon tax. Money grab. You know, like most of the tickets that they get, oh, you were going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, boy. Here's your $196 frickin' ticket. Yeah, it's a money grab. It's the way it is in the Western world. Here, not so much. Unless you're speeding or driving down the one-way road the wrong way. Yes, I've got one of those. How was I supposed to know? The frickin' sign was in Chinese. I got my Chinese driver's license, but and I didn't have to cheat, and I didn't have to spend $1,000 on my driver's license. The driver exam is in English. Yes, it is. You can have it in Chinese or in English. And I went in, I got 96%. You got to get 90% to pass that damn thing. You get 96%. I got 96%, and a couple bucks later, I got my driver's license. So if people tell you that it's hard to get your driver's license here in China, no, study the frickin' exam, the questions for the exam, go in and write it. Because I've got a license from Canada, I don't have to take the driving part of it because they already know that I'm driving. Yeah. So anyway, I digress. I've seen it a lot here in China where somebody gets stopped on their e-bike or in their car by police on the street. And usually it's the old ladies. They get pissed. Oh yes, they do, and they will actually attack a cop, kick him in the knee, or just say, "I'm not to hell with you. I'm just gonna go." And the police have to deal with this. And so, like, I don't think it's probably illegal to kick a cop here in China, but they're so laid back that they don't arrest these older people. Older people are considered, well, you have to respect the elders in China. It's a lot like the native community in Canada. You know, respect the elders and listen to them, and you know, even if sometimes it's bullshit, you still have to show that respect. So if you got out of your car and kicked a cop, say a California Highway Patrol officer, he stops you and you get out of your car and you kick him in the knee, what do you think would happen to you? You know what I mean? Here, it's I've seen it over and over and over again, and they just calm the old person down, and usually let them off with a warning, because that's what they were going to do to begin with. But it's sort of funny to watch, knowing that that if it happened in Canada, that RCMP officer, that city cop, would take you down with extreme prejudice, handcuff you and haul you off. Assaulting a police officer is an indictable offense. Yes, it's a felony in the States, and it's an indictable offense in Canada. So you're probably going to spend some time in jail. Here, they give you a warning for whatever you were doing. They calm you down and send you on your merry little old way. You know what I mean? So how's that for a tame way to deal with people? Oh, don't forget the Helping Hands Children Foundation. It sort of stalled. Actually, it hasn't. I expect more from the viewers maybe than they're willing to give. We're coming up on about $700 a month, and by spring we should have enough to start doing things that we want to do. One of the comments I got on the channel is, Gweilo, tell us what you're going to do with this money. I'm going to buy brandy. No, I'm not. No, every penny of this is going to go. If a family needs food, then there's bags of rice. See, a child can't learn unless that child has a full belly. A child that's cold in the wintertime in school is more worried about being warm than learning from the teachers. So warm clothing, shoes, medical expenses if the child has problems, antibiotics if the kid is sick, things that even a toothache. Well, what are you going to do? Well, you got to fix a tooth. Exactly, or pull a tooth if they're younger. There's a number. You can't say, oh, we're going to do exactly this and exactly this, but that money is going to go to these children that. I've seen so many little kids with rotten teeth in rural China, and if they had the right oral hygiene, like toothbrush, toothpaste, dental floss, things like that, the little things are the things that count. So what I'm saying is, everything and anything that we can do to help, we're going to do that. And another comment on the channel said, well, how much of this money out of every dollar is going to the children? Well, 100%, because Gweilo 60 is picking up the expenses on this one, the taxes that might have to be paid on the money that is given to the Patreon account because it's through a Canadian bank account. The traveling expenses, the vehicles, every penny that needs to be spent to do this is coming out of my pocket. I hope that answers your question. Where's the money going to go? How's it going to be spent? And how much of this money that we're spending or sending into the Patreon account is going to be spent on the children? 100%, and probably even more, because I've got some fairly rich Chinese people that they might even match what you guys give. So I'm hoping that's going to happen. And I've got a connection with the Nanning newspaper, and when we hit certain dollar amounts, they want to partner up with us. So maybe they'll advertise it in a newspaper here in China, in Nanning City. 7 million people. If we got that, we could do a lot better. We could do a lot more. Yes, we could. That's another video from Gweilo 60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button, and thanks for watching. Bye now. So I hope that I was long enough that you could read all of your financial advice in Chinese from the Bank of China here in Nanning, China. Yes, I don't invest with these guys. I don't give enough money. Percentage. Yeah. There's other banks that will give you way more. They're smaller. They're like credit unions in Canada. You go to the CIBC in Canada, they will give you garbage for interest rates on your term deposits and RSPs. And then you go to the credit unions, like Spiritwood Credit Union will rock your socks off in interest rates compared to the banks. How's that for a plug? Spiritwood Credit Union, you owe me a better interest rate.